Hi there, class. I'm Preston Dye. I am a history education major, and I'm taking this class because I like to, and I don't know why this has anything to do with it, so I'll start over again. Hi there, class. I'm Preston Dye. I am doing a report on Alexander Sutherland Neill, known more likely as A.S. Neill. Alexander Neill was born October 17th in Forfar, Scotland. He was the son of a headmaster, or in English, in American English, a principal. He grew up as a child of 7 children, and it was a rough, you could say it was a rough life for him because his father was strict in his house. And so he grew up with the ideals of being an individualist. And one of the articles that I read concerning him, it spoke about how if all the kids in the neighborhood spike was red, you could say, Alexander Neill would go out of his way to paint it blue. And so this kind of individualist thought kind of carried with him throughout his life. He thought it was really important that you shouldn't just follow the crowd and do what others thought was best for you. After working for his father, ironically, for a few years in his school as a pupil teacher, Alexander Neill went on to study at Edinburgh University. While here, he studied English, actually. After graduating from the University of Edinburgh, he soon received employment for Westminster Labour Party. Well, his employment with the Westminster Labour Party soon kind of ran out because his employer lost his business. So after that, A.S. Neill went on to teach, or actually he was the headmaster for the Greta Green School, which was lying on the border of Scotland and England. And while he was a headmaster, he wrote several books while he was there. One of them being known as the Dominie's Log, which is actually, Dominie is English for teacher. So while he was there, he wrote several books, and these books were really a recording of his experience as an educator and some of the thoughts that he had about what he could do to change education and to make it more for the student. And so he began to be a prominent educator, and soon he traveled Europe to speak at several different meetings about education. After speaking after being invited to speak in Austria, he decided to go visit some of his friends in Germany, because currently at the time it was World War I. So he went to Germany and met up with some of his friends from home, and he spoke with them, and they were all interested in starting their own school. So there in Germany, A.S. Neill and a couple of his buddies began their own school, and then in this school they were using some of the ideas that they had created about education. The German government wasn't too happy with that, so they decided to kick them out. So after their failed attempt at making a school there in Germany, they went on to Austria. So after the short while there in Austria also, the local neighbors weren't too happy with what they were doing, so they were actually kicked out of Austria also. So finally, Neill went back home to England. So when Neill returned to England, he bought the residence known as Summerhill, and that is found in Leiston, Suffolk. Summerhill had two basic ideas, or two basic philosophies, that no student was ever forced to go to class, and also that every student had the same rights and they could set up the rules just as much as the teachers could. The first idea, that of the freedom of the kids to decide whether to go to class or not, kind of sounds strange at first, but he had some logic behind it. The fact is that he thought that the child shouldn't be forced to learn because the student would never learn anything if he wasn't interested in what he was learning. Here's a quote from what he says. He says, "When a boy makes a snowball, he is interested. I don't care what a child is doing in the way of creation, whether he's making tables, porridge, or sketches, or snowballs. There is more true education in making a snowball than in listening to an hour's lecture on grammar." So this was a big part of his philosophy, of Neill's philosophy, was that a student should learn on his own accord, that if he wanted to learn, he would go out and seek the knowledge. The second point that he tried to make there in Summerhill was that the students could make their own rules, or the students could set up their own society there, in reality. Basically how the school worked was every week there was a general meeting, and in these meetings they would make rules and settle any disputes among the students or the teachers. I personally find his ideas interesting. A.S. Neill was definitely a giant in education. He was a very progressive thinker, and I think a lot of his ideas and his philosophies have really affected the world of education today. I think a lot of classrooms are more democratic, you could say, like the students have a lot more input into what they learn than they used to, and I think this has a large part to deal with what he offered to education. Yeah, this has been my report on Alexander Neill, and thank you.